There's always something a little awkward about cut-down day in the NFL. It's like trying to celebrate a party where half the guests are being asked to leave before dessert. Sure, it's a necessary part of building a roster, trimming down to that magic number 53, but man, it's hard to get excited about watching dreams get paused, even if only temporarily. And let's be honest here, most of these guys, they're not really gone. A bunch of them will be back before the next sunset, quietly sliding into practice squad spots like they never left. But still, for the hardcore fans, for those of us watching every inch of this roster take shape, it's a day of real movement, of real decisions. It's a day when storylines close and others begin. And right now in Pittsburgh, one of the more intriguing side stories of this summer just reached its conclusion. I'm talking about the punter battle, and yeah, I know, punters rarely get any love. But this one was different. Cameron Johnston, a guy who's been rock solid and downright impressive, got flat out beaten. Not because he slipped, not because he had a down camp. No, he lost out to someone who just rose above, someone who brought it every single day with consistency, skill, and quiet confidence. That someone is Corliss Whiteman. And if you've been keeping an eye on training camp action out at St. Vincent College, you know this wasn't some fluke. From the very beginning, this felt like a real competition, not just a formality. Johnston would step up, unleash these absolute moonshots that had the crowd buzzing, balls hanging in the sky like satellites. Every time he punted, you could hear the collective woe ripple through the fans at Chuck Noll Field. That's how good his leg is. But then came Whiteman. And while he wasn't booting the ball into orbit the same way, his kicks had finesse. His control, his placement, the way he worked the sideline or pinned it inside the 20. That's where he made his case. Watching him follow Johnston in those camp drills was kind of like watching a flamethrower of a pitcher get followed by a curveball magician. The change of pace, the contrast in style, it was sharp, it was fun, and it was real football poetry. And it wasn't just flashy camp moments. Whiteman brought substance, directional punts that went exactly where they were supposed to. Those strategic end-over-end kicks that bounced backward instead of rolling into the end zone. Even the subtle stuff, like hang time to let the coverage team get in place, was on point. Everything about his game screamed reliability. And in the end, that's what won out. Now, some folks might be tempted to dig into the numbers, look at the contract situations, wonder about cap space, but don't overthink this. That wasn't the deciding factor here. This wasn't a who's cheaper decision. This was a who's better right now call. And honestly, you love to see it. This is what training camp battles are supposed to be about. Two guys going at it, pushing each other, and forcing the coaches to make the toughest kind of choice, picking between two strong options. As for Johnston, there's no bitterness here. He's still an elite punter. He's going to land somewhere. Someone's going to scoop him up quick because the dude can play. This was just about Pittsburgh going with the guy who had the better summer, the hotter hand, the sharper edge. And in this case, that was Whiteman. Simple as that. Now let's shift from punters to another name that caught people's attention. Mark Robinson. Man, that one stung a bit. You talk about heart, grit, intensity. Robinson brings all of that. The guy's a missile in human form. He's always flying toward the ball, fearless, aggressive, looking to hit something. That kind of energy is infectious. You can see it, feel it even from the press box. But as much as you love the hustle, there's a big missing piece in his game: coverage. That's been the elephant in the room since he arrived. Inside linebacker is a tough job in today's NFL. You can't just be a thumper anymore. You got to be able to turn and run with tight ends, recognize route concepts, drop into zones with awareness. And that's where Robinson hasn't quite caught up. He's a fantastic tackler, sure. He'll blow up a play behind the line like it's nobody's business. But when the ball's in the air, when he's asked to diagnose and cover, that's where the issues show up. Still, I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up right back on the practice squad. The Steelers like him. He fits the culture. And if he can ever round out that coverage skill set just a little, he's got the fire to be an impact guy down the road. Then there's Max Herlin. And look, I know not every fan is deep enough into camp reports to recognize that name, but out at St. Vincent, that kid was turning heads. Just a pure football player. The kind of guy who lives and breathes the game, who plays with instincts and toughness that make up for whatever he might lack in flash or pedigree. Herlin's not the biggest name, and he probably won't be starting anywhere this fall, but there's just something about him. One of those guys who refuses to fade out quietly. He's going to find his way onto a roster, a practice squad, a special teams unit, something. There's just too much football in his blood for him to disappear. But now we get to the real final act. At the time I'm saying this, there are still 13 more cuts to be made. 13 more names that need to be trimmed by 4 o'clock Eastern to meet that league-wide deadline. And yeah, that's where some fans start refreshing Twitter like crazy, tracking every transaction like it's a fantasy draft. But you want to know the truth? I couldn't care less about those last 13 cuts. That might sound harsh, but hear me out. When I look at an NFL roster, I don't obsess over spot number 52 or 53. I care about the top 22, your starters, and then I look at who's behind them. Your first wave of backups. That's your core. That's the group you live or die with once the real games begin. And when I scan the Steelers' depth chart, there are only 2 areas where I still feel some concern. The first is wide receiver depth behind George Pickens. And look, that's no knock on the guys in the room. There's talent there, but there's a noticeable drop after Pickens. The second, backup offensive tackle. And believe it or not, that's actually the bigger issue between the two. Pittsburgh knows it. The front office knows it. This isn't speculation. That position needs help. And with all the movement coming across the league this week, you better believe Omar Khan and Andy Weidel are watching the wire like hawks. Offensive tackles are going to shake loose. And when they do, that's the real hunt. That's where Pittsburgh can make an upgrade that actually matters for the regular season. Because everything else, gunners, long snappers, depth corners, Danny Smith can sort that out. That's his world. But if you give this team a competent, reliable backup tackle, now you're cooking with gas. Now your offense has insurance. And look, all of this just reinforces how healthy this roster is overall. When you're down to sweating over second-string tackles and third wide receivers, that's a good sign. That means your core is solid. That means your first tier is strong, and your second tier isn't far behind. Now here's the wild part. You'd think a player that physically imposing, that obviously gifted, would be a constant topic of discussion. But somehow, Washington has slipped into the background of most conversations. Maybe it's because he didn't light up the stat sheet last year. Maybe it's because Jonnu Smith came in and people just assumed the depth chart shuffled. Whatever the reason, Darnell's become this hidden weapon in plain sight. And that, my friends, might be exactly what makes him so dangerous this year. Because here's what I've been hearing, and I mean from people inside the building, not just camp observers. There's real excitement about what Darnell's been doing behind the scenes. His development has taken a serious leap. His confidence has grown. His route running has sharpened. And most importantly, his understanding of where he fits into this offense, what he can do to create mismatches, that's all come together. This isn't some raw project anymore. This is a weapon. And let's not forget the blocking. From day one, the guy has been a terror at the line of scrimmage. Defensive ends hate dealing with him. Linebackers struggle to shed him. Safeties? Forget it. He's not just big. He's powerful, deliberate, and fundamentally sound. He locks in and drives. In some formations, it's like having a sixth offensive lineman on the field, except this one might also release and catch a red zone fade over your nickel corner. Pick your poison. But what's really changed, what separates this year's Darnell Washington from last year's, is what happens after he catches the ball. See, there was a concern among coaches early on. Not about his hands, he can catch. Not about his vertical threat, he's got hops. But about that split second after catch. That moment when a player needs to turn upfield, read the space, make a move. Last year, there were flashes of hesitation. Almost like he was trying to process it in real time, instead of reacting instinctively. You'd see him grab the ball, land awkwardly, and then take that tiny beat before committing to a direction. And in the NFL, that beat matters. It can mean the difference between a 10-yard gain and a 3-yard tackle. But here's the thing, those coaching points stuck. The repetition worked. The tape study paid off. Because now, when Darnell secures a pass, he's fluid. He plants, he turns, and he moves downhill like a wrecking ball. And once he starts rolling, good luck stopping him. He doesn't need to juke or spin. He just needs to move forward. That's enough to make defenders think twice. You'll see guys diving at ankles, trying to avoid full-on collisions. Because again, he's not your average tight end. This isn't some converted wideout with decent size. This is a mountain of a man moving with purpose. And that's what makes him such a fascinating chess piece for Arthur Smith. You better believe the new offensive coordinator is scheming up ways to use this guy. Tight formations, heavy sets, play-action looks, misdirection, screens. It's all on the table. Washington can be a blocker, a decoy, a safety valve, or the main target, depending on the situation. And if the Steelers start leaning into multiple tight end looks, pairing him with Pat Freiermuth or Jonas Smith, it's going to create problems. Matchup nightmares. Think about what that does to a defense. You either keep your base unit on the field and risk getting torched in coverage, or you bring in smaller personnel and get bullied at the line. It's a no-win scenario when the tight ends can actually play. And make no mistake, Washington can. Now let's talk about that reaction when Jonas Smith was signed. You remember it. Everyone, myself included, assumed it meant Darnell was getting pushed back. Not because he failed, just because Jonnu is a veteran. He's proven. He knows Arthur Smith's system inside and out from their time in Tennessee and Atlanta. So naturally, you figure he slides into that TE2 role and Washington becomes a developmental third option. But you know what actually happened? Nothing. No change. No downgrade. No sign that Darnell was being shoved aside. The very next practice, and everyone after that, he was still getting his reps. He was still part of the red zone package. Still being scripted into goal line looks. Still running with the ones and twos. That tells you everything you need to know. The coaching staff believes in him. They didn't bring in Jonnu to replace Washington. They brought him in to expand the room, to create optionality, to have weapons, plural. And here's the most important thing I could say about Darnell Washington going into this season. He's earned it. Nothing was handed to him. No one babied him. He was challenged, and he responded. And that's what separates future stars from roster fillers. It's not about where you were drafted or how hyped you were coming in. It's about what you do when the reps get harder and the spotlight dims. So what do the Steelers do with Jonnu now? Honestly, that's a fair question. Because if Washington is rising the way everyone says he is, and if Pat Freiermuth is still your clear TE1, then where does Jonnu fit? It's tough to say. He's barely practiced. His camp was light on full team reps. We haven't seen much of how he fits into this specific offense with these players. So as we head into the regular season, that tight end rotation is going to be one of the most fascinating wrinkles to watch. But the truth is, it's a good problem to have. Too much talent at a position? That's the kind of issue coaches like, especially in today's NFL, where tight ends can be used in so many ways. And if Washington keeps progressing the way he has, if he turns into that reliable target in the flat, that red zone mismatch, that third and short security blanket, then you've got yourself a game changer. And not just in stats, not just in fantasy football points, in real, gritty, fourth quarter football, when you need to control the clock, when you need to keep a drive alive, when you're trying to punch it in from the 2-yard line. That's when you want a guy like Washington on the field. This isn't just about highlight reels. This is about having another layer to your offense, another tool in your belt. Because guess what? Not every team has a tight end who can block a defensive end and then slip out into the flat and snag a touchdown. Not every team has a guy who makes cornerbacks hesitate before making a tackle. Not every team has someone who can change the geometry of the red zone just by lining up. The Steelers do. And if the Steelers really want to take a step forward this year, if they want to control games, lean into physicality, and be more versatile in their offensive packages, this is where it starts. With guys like Darnell, quiet weapons, mismatch creators, the players who don't always get the headlines, but make all the difference when it counts. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL world is buzzing with a shockwave that seems almost too wild to be true. Rumors are circulating that ODELL Beckham Jr., one of the league's most electrifying wide receivers, has allegedly committed to joining forces with quarterback Aaron Rodgers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. While nothing has been officially confirmed, Sources close to the matter suggest that discussions have progressed rapidly, sparking an unprecedented level of speculation across social media, sports talk shows, and insider networks. Fans are already imagining the offensive fireworks this duo could produce, with Rodgers' precision passing complementing Beckham's unrivaled agility and knack for spectacular catches. Analysts are scrambling to adjust their projections for the upcoming season, debating whether this pairing could instantly transform the Steelers into Super Bowl contenders. Some are cautious, pointing to the potential chemistry challenges and the inevitable adjustments both players will face in a new system. But the sheer star power of Beckham and Rodgers together in black and gold is enough to make anyone stop and rethink conventional NFL narratives. Even players across the league are rumored to be discussing this potential shift in locker rooms, highlighting the seismic impact it could have not only on the Steelers, but on every team attempting to recalibrate in response. The speculation doesn't stop with fans and pundits. The supposed arrival of Odell Beckham Jr. to Pittsburgh has reportedly sent ripples through the front office and coaching staff of the Steelers, with insiders suggesting that there has been a flurry of meetings, strategy sessions, and tentative plans to integrate Beckham into the team's offensive scheme. Coaches are said to be analyzing game film, hypothesizing how Rodgers' timing and Beckham's route running could create mismatches against even the most disciplined defenses. The idea of pairing one of the most experienced and cerebral quarterbacks in league history with a wide receiver known for his explosive athleticism has prompted comparisons to some of the most dynamic duos the NFL has ever witnessed. Rumors hint that there might be contract negotiations underway that could reshape the salary cap and force a rethinking of roster priorities, potentially affecting not only current starters, but also the drafting strategy for the upcoming season. Fans have taken to social media with fervor, speculating endlessly about jersey sales, potential touchdown combinations, and even imagining highlight reels that could redefine the Steelers' identity. The notion that this could actually happen is enough to keep sports analysts, bloggers, and casual viewers glued to every snippet of news, as the NFL landscape could be on the verge of one of its most dramatic shakeups in decades. In stadiums across the country, whispers of Odell Beckham Jr. joining Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh are fueling a frenzy of debate and anticipation, with fans of rival teams reportedly bracing for a wave of offensive dominance that could alter playoff projections entirely. The mere suggestion of this alliance has generated an atmosphere akin to an impending blockbuster, as stadium announcers, commentators, and journalists scramble to provide insight into what such a move would mean both statistically and culturally within the league. While skeptics question the likelihood of two high-profile stars converging in a single franchise, proponents highlight that both players have histories of thriving under pressure and elevating those around them. Social media platforms are inundated with hypothetical scenarios, from imagined game-winning drives to elaborate touchdown celebrations, creating a sense of collective excitement that transcends traditional fan boundaries. Even merchandising rumors have begun circulating, hinting at limited edition collaborations and marketing campaigns that could coincide with official announcements, further solidifying the narrative as more than mere speculation. The underlying theme, however, remains the same. The NFL might be on the cusp of witnessing a combination so audacious and high-profile that the league's competitive equilibrium could shift dramatically, leaving fans, teams, and media outlets alike scrambling to adjust their expectations. Adding fuel to the fire, some insiders claim that negotiations between Beckham and the Steelers have already reached advanced stages, with reports of preliminary agreements on contract terms, potential endorsement deals, and even media appearances designed to maximize hype around the pairing. Analysts are dissecting every rumored detail, from offensive schemes that could exploit Rodgers' precision passing to the specific types of routes Beckham would likely run to maximize separation for defenders. Conversations in sports circles suggest that rival teams are already exploring adjustments, from defensive strategies to personnel changes, in anticipation of what could become a historic offensive powerhouse. Even commentators with long-standing careers in the NFL are reportedly stunned by the audacity of such a move, noting that the potential cultural and performance impact of this union could rival some of the league's most iconic partnerships. Rumors hint at private meetings where coaches and star players have allegedly discussed ways to integrate Beckham seamlessly, a process that could involve extensive playbook modifications and unique practice scenarios. The chatter extends beyond the field, with fans speculating on whether Rodgers' leadership style and Beckham's outspoken personality will mesh smoothly or create dramatic storylines off the field, further fueling the rumor mill. While the NFL remains officially silent, the mere suggestion that Odell Beckham Jr. could team up with Aaron Rodgers at the Steelers has already created a narrative that refuses to be ignored, dominating talk shows, fan forums, and social media timelines alike. The excitement, skepticism, and sheer audacity of the rumor have led many to consider it a seismic event, potentially redefining the Steelers' future and challenging the conventional wisdom surrounding team-building strategies in professional football. The speculation has even prompted comparisons to past league-shaking trades and signings, with fans and analysts debating whether this pairing could achieve legendary status or become another example of unfulfilled hype. Meanwhile, unofficial sources hint at behind-the-scenes strategizing, with coaching staff, front office executives, and player representatives allegedly exploring all possible scenarios to maximize both performance and marketability. The anticipation is such that every minor tweet, report, or insider comment is dissected and amplified, adding layers of complexity and excitement to an already charged rumor. Ultimately, whether this historic alignment of talent comes to fruition or remains in the realm of speculation, the NFL universe is captivated, eager for confirmation, and already imagining a future where Rodgers and Beckham together could electrify stadiums, dominate headlines, and redefine what it means to witness football at its most thrilling level. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.